Hey folks, how you doing? Well, I hope you're doing well. I really do, and God be with you for sure. I wanted to let you know that there are several indicators that you are living in a like socialist state or a communist state. And one of them is that you don't have access to private food, that the ability to grow your own food or grow your own meat, that will be taken away as much as the state can do on their own. Now, they may not worry about a little garden in your front yard, but if you are stepping outside of the industrial food complex, okay, so think of the big ones like Tyson and all these people who have massive lobbyists and a monstrous amount of money. If you step outside of that, and there's like 5 companies that own most of the food and most of the food processing and the farming as well. If you step outside of that and you try to do it on your own, outside of that complex, outside of their game, they will come down on you. That's the first one of the red flags that you know you're heading towards a communist type of structured system. And so here's this article, State Raids Amish Organic Farm Selling Raw Foods to Private Buyers. So yes, this is where we are right now. Now, I heard a thing once about what it was like to live in Cuba under Fidel Castro. And there was a person that had mentioned that their parents their father was arrested because he had raised a couple of pigs. And because the voracious appetite of central control cannot stand anyone doing something outside of their purvey, they arrested him. And when he got out of jail, he said, there's a ton of people in jail in Cuba who are all like me. They're just independent farmers who got arrested for raising their own chickens, their own pigs, blah, blah, blah. And why did they do this? Because they implemented a really harsh rationing system in Cuba, as opposed to what Bernie Sanders thinks about this communist paradise, which is a bunch of BS anyway. Hey, when you have 3 homes, dude, I don't believe you anymore. I don't know. You see how that works? Anyway, so it's kind of an indicator that, well, this is a big red flag, that central control has a voracious appetite, and it will always try to invade. It will always try to take from regular people. So if you step outside of the medical industrial complex, the food industrial complex, which there's like 5 companies that own most food processing and most food, okay, and they want to sell it to you. Well, now we're getting to a point where they want control of rationing too. Okay, so you try to step outside of this, and they will come down on you, the powers that be. And the powers that be are these big monopolies and oligarchs and lobbyists who insist that you cannot sell food outside of their paradigm, outside of their system. So the state raids Amish organic farms selling raw foods to private buyers. This is in Pennsylvania. Okay, so gosh, let's go after the Amish, man. Jeez, these horrible, dangerous Amish people. I obviously am being facetious. They are not. They're not at all. In fact, I believe more of us should probably learn from their system of doing things and get off the grid, man. So, with all of the problems in society today, this is what the government wants us to focus on. A man growing food for informed customers without participating in the industrial meat/milk complex, writes Representative Tom Massey from Kentucky. State troopers on Thursday raided an organic farm in Pennsylvania that specializes in selling raw milk, organic eggs, grass-fed beef, and other nutritious foods to private buyers. Mind you, these things right here, milk, eggs, grass-fed beef, these were indicated as, well, they have fat in them for years on the food pyramid, and they're fatty, so they're super bad for you. That's all made up garbage. This stuff is super great for you. This stuff has the most nutrition, like per volume of any food. This is why you see at the WF, they say, you've eat the bugs, you will own nothing and be happy. They want you to eat the bugs because bugs don't have the amount of nutrition. They won't. They will never match it per volume that beef, eggs, and milk do. Okay? And even if you try to argue against that, the thing is their exoskeletons have a protein in them called chitin, and chitin actually leads to like a spinal cancer. So you want to avoid this garbage. And if you look at fake foods like Beyond Meat and crap like that that's funded like by Bill Gates, you will see the ingredient list is monstrous, and it is filled with garbage. It is filled with terrible oils, seed-based oils, and I'm talking like sunflower seed, canola, which is terrible. These are horrible for you. These are the cancer-causing agents, which we have to be aware of. Anyway, so I digress. Footage out of bird in hand, filmed by the Lancaster Patriots' Chris Hume, shows state agents executing a search warrant and confiscating products at the Miller's Organic Farm, owned by Amish farmer Amos Miller. Footage of the search being conducted inside Amos Miller's Organic Farm store in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. So let's take a look at that real quick. Let's see if there is some footage or if it's just a picture. Okay, here we go.
I'm here in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania.
Okay, here's the footage.
I'm here in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, looking inside the window into Amos Miller's farm store operation here. We have multiple state troopers inside. We have coolers there on the ground that have been filled with products from Amos Miller's operation. We have multiple people in there. They've been inside Amos Miller's building here for hours, not allowing media in, searching the premises. I was told by one of the troopers that they are executing a search warrant, and I was instructed that I cannot be inside. Again, if you followed Amos Miller in the past, you know that he's a local farmer here in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, who provides organic products to his private buying club. People voluntarily choose to buy from him. I actually just spoke with a customer who came several hours today to purchase products. He's been a customer for 20 years, never been sick, never gotten sick, I should say, from Amos Miller's products. And here you have these two men coming over pointing to these coolers. Again, these coolers have at least been partially filled with products from Amos Miller's store. It looks like they will be hauled off. You have these tyrants coming in and searching. And here's the problem with, you have these state troopers and these other, I'm assuming they work for the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. These people are at the heart of our tyranny problem in America. They'll tell you, I'm sure, I'm just doing my job. I'm just doing what I was told. State trooper will say, I'm just doing my job. This is the problem we have in America. As long as there are people like this who will execute, who will follow the orders of the tyrants, the bureaucratic tyrants at the top, say, go do this, raid this man's farm, take his products away. As long as we have, quote unquote, regular, ordinary people like this, the people you see right in this video, as long as we have people like this who will enforce these man-made edicts, we will continue to have tyranny in America. And that's what we're seeing right here. The Amos Miller case has been an ongoing example of tyranny, of man-made law, and just an abandonment of justice. This is not justice. What you see here is not justice. Amos Miller has not broken the law of God. There's no victim here bringing a charge against Amos. Where's the victim? Where's the victim that is coming to the magistrate and saying, Amos Miller has wronged me and I would like him to make restitution? You're not seeing that. That's never been the case here with Amos Miller. It's always been the government wanting their share, playing the nanny, acting as the nanny, and trying to control. And the last thing these guys want is someone like Amos Miller to be successful, because he represents the opposite of the nanny state that they want to enforce upon us. So stay tuned. We'll have more here. It looks like they might be getting ready to leave.
Okay, excellent coverage by Chris Hume. And he is exactly right. If you are complicit in helping out the nanny state enforce these rules, let's get rid of nutrition for people. We want cancer-causing foods. We're trying to push that. People like, Frito-Lay, Nestle, these type people We need that. We need people to eat our foods that we put garbage in. We need them to eat our processed garbage to maintain your sickness so that we can squeeze every drop and dime out of you during a lifetime, and then you will die miserably from complications at the end or of cancer caused by these processed foods, by our false food pyramid. Yep, said it. So the nanny state is a great phrase for that. I actually appreciate that. So somebody says, I beg anyone with connections to the Amish community to alert them of this Fourth Amendment breach of our constitutional rights. With forced vaccines, the assault on religious freedom, and attacks on farms and raw milk, every Amish American must register to vote and vote this November. I agree. Amish people, if you're out there, please vote. Now, we know the voting system has massive fraud and corruption right now, but you know what? Sometimes that can be overwhelmed in a way if there's enough people to even overwhelm the amount of cheating. Yes, I do believe that, okay? In spite of everything we've seen, I'm not going to be black-pilled that way completely. Okay, so I would encourage people to go out there, especially the Amish, Mennonites, get out there and do this. Get out there and vote. And for those who have, congratulations, way to go. And so let's go ahead and back to the article here. As reported by Hume on a GoFundMe page created in support of the Millers, I highly recommend going there. I'm probably going to just donate a little bit of money, as much as I can probably right now. Under the watchful eye of Pennsylvania state troopers and the backing of a search warrant, agents of the state entered Amos's property, spent hours inside his buildings, and then hauled off some of his products. The remaining products they are forbidding Amos from selling, effectively ending his business until further notice. Here's the problem too. Like he said, if you are a state trooper, and if you are part of the USDA, if you are part of your state's Department of Agriculture too, and you are willingly going in on this and just saying, I'm just doing what I'm told, I'm following orders. Thank you, Adolf Eichmann, for that. Please read The Banality of Evil by Hannah Arendt, and how most of the evil purported by most regimes throughout history, and including World War II, like with the Germans, this was many of the people, like at Nuremberg. The most common phrase at Nuremberg is, I was just doing what I was told. I was just filing paperwork. I was doing mindless, mediocre bureaucracy. Yes, bureaucracy that sent over 6.5 million people to concentration camps to be murdered. That's what you did. And if you are part of the USDA, if you are enforcing these objectives that are not on behalf of the government, not on behalf of the welfare of the people, but on behalf of these big oligarchs and corporations that seek to kill you anyway, if you are doing this at this point, especially after COVID, I believe you're complicit. You're complicit in this. And I seriously encourage doing a moral inventory. Yes, just like AA, do the 12 steps. Do a moral inventory of who you are, because your banal actions that seem mediocre and bureaucratic and just, well, it's just a typical day at the office. Think about it though, what you're doing. And I hope some of you are red-pilled. I do pray for you. I do, actually. And I don't wish your demise. I don't do any of those things. I pray for you. And those out there who are kind of like, maybe this is wrong, please think about that. Because you are going to be complicit. You are complicit in the demise of these people, of regular people. These are your neighbors too. These are your neighbors. They're your friends. And I'm thinking like the Pennsylvania State Troopers here. Love you. If you're a good cop out there and you're doing the right thing for the people, absolutely encourage you and I support you. If you're one of these state troopers that is fine going to this person's house and at gunpoint, because the threat is at gunpoint. You may not see them pull guns, but they do have firearms with them. At the threat of this authoritarianism, if you are complicit in this and you're saying, oh, I was just doing what I was told, another day at the office, which it seems like, seeing that one cop just kind of stretch, and, yeah, think about this and do a really deep moral inventory on what you're doing to your neighbors. I encourage you to do that, and I bless you and I pray for you that you may not be doing this down the road. Hopefully, some people can see the light. And as opposed to the people on the left who wish your demise and extermination, I don't wish any of that stuff, and I think that's super evil. Nobody should be doing that. I encourage this, though. I encourage a conversion and a red pill and being awakened to what you're actually doing. What looks like managerialism and regular bureaucracy is contributing to great evil in the United States. So anyway, there's my diatribe on that. Amos Miller has come under attack again. If you'd like to help keep Amos in business during this time, you can support him here. And oh, I'm sorry, he is on Give, Send, Go. Thank heavens, because GoFundMe, we know, is run by big tech, and if they were caught screwing people over during the truckers convoy when a donation fund was set up on GoFundMe. I donated some money too, and they were at the behest of the powers that be. They were told to stop. They got $1 million, and they said, nope, we're not going to give it to the truckers. Well, that was because the powers that be told them not to. And they said, if you don't retain your money, if you don't ask for a refund, actively ask, we'll just go ahead and use that money for our own causes, which are all going to be like Antifa and self-destructive domestic terrorist causes. The real domestic terrorists, BLM, Antifa, we know who they really are. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, including the drug cartels and the sleeper cells coming in from the Middle East. We know who you are. Hume gave updates from the scene as the raid was carried out, reporting as you could see there. So blah, 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 blah. While a precise reason for the latest raid has not been given, Miller's All Natural Farm, which only sells to people in its private member association, has been under the microscope of state and federal agencies in recent years for operating outside of agricultural regulations. Although nobody has gotten sick, nothing has happened for years. People have been going to, in fact, I would say the people who eat his food are probably healthier and have less medical problems than people eating regular garbage food from Nestle and Frito-Lay. I bet you $1 million. $1 million for operating outside of agricultural regulations. For instance, the Millers do not pasteurize their raw milk. They don't inject their animals with vaccines or other chemicals. Oh no, we can't control people's health. We're going to have healthy people. That introduces competition. And they don't use fertilizer to grow crops. The farm raises its animals and other pure foods the way nature intended, and we are proud to be entirely chemical, cruelty, and GMO free. And believe you me, the powers that be, these big corporations they are all into that. Even though they say that on the surface, we don't believe in cruelty to animals. These people are cruel. They have tons of chemicals in their food. Processed food is the worst. It's basically a cancer-causing agent, and GMO-free. Yes, genetically modified food. Most processed foods are genetically modified at this point now. The animals are born and raised without antibiotics or hormones, and they spend their entire lives naturally and stress-free out on a pasture. All of the farm's food is traceable, pure, and grown on nutrient-dense soil under traditional, time-honored methods. Raw milk from the Miller's Organic Farm was blamed in 2016 for a listeria outbreak in 2014. I'm highly suspect of that too, because it seems like the corporate media, who get a lot of their funding from these groups, they will immediately lambaste any competitor, especially when people start to take notice and go, hey, did you hear about this farm out there that makes raw milk and has organic products without vaccines in it, without hormones in it? They probably were like, oh crap, we can't have this. Okay, so the listeria outbreak in 2014, they were blamed for that, okay? That's highly suspect. That sickened one person in California and another in Florida, with the latter dying supposedly from the illness. Miller has been targeted by the USDA for slaughtering cattle without the proper federal permits and inspections. Oh, really? Leading to fines and threats of imprisonment. And another moneymaker for them, too. Have a whole slew of federal permits and inspections to make it draconian. The financial stress draconian, just simply to be able to raise food. Because you have to be part of the nanny state system. If you step outside of that, this is what they do. Representative Thomas Massey from Kentucky on X Thursday criticized the state for raiding the farm, writing, with all of the problems in society today, this is what the government wants to focus on? Of course, because they hate you. Remember, they have an anti-humanitarian agenda. Depopulate the earth, make people sick, drain them of their money, and make sure to kill them off. Because the elites want so many less people in the world. They want it down to like, what, 500 million? I'm serious. And those people would just be slaves to them too. So think, and specifically think Bill Gates, Klaus Schwab, the usual suspects, George Soros, who actually, I believe, literally deep down is one of those who actually has a philosophy of, I actually detest humanity, because he has spent his life destroying nations, destroying their currencies, sending like places like England spiraling into a recession. Yeah, these are people who don't like humanity. You got to understand that. No matter how professional they look, how many conferences they go to where there's a nice stage, where there's a platform, where there's all these people dressed up nice and nodding at each other, it's barbaric. These are barbarians. The barbarians are the bureaucrats. They are dressed up nice. They are dressed up in a tie. They are they look sharp. They're soft spoken. They wear sweaters. Think Bill Gates. But remember, this is how tyranny is now. It has to be it has to appear soft now. But it's the same thing. Same thing as dangerous, violent tyrannies. And it is violent. It is a violent tyranny too. So anyway, with all of the problems in society today, this is what the government wants to focus on. A man growing food for informed customers without participating in the industrial meat milk complex. It's a shameful that it's come to this. And of course, here's more footage right here. Just a little bit. Come on. Let's see, Christopher Hume.
This is Chris Hume with the Lancaster Patriot. I'm currently outside of Amos Miller's organic farm operation here in Birmingham, Pennsylvania. There are currently 2 marked state trooper vehicles here, 3 other official use vehicles. I attempted to enter the building inside. A state trooper turned me away and said that they are executing a search warrant on Amos Miller's operations here. I've not been able to make contact with Amos Miller yet, but once again, Amos Miller's property here in Birmingham, Pennsylvania, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Law enforcement is once again harassing Amos Miller for serving his neighbors. And here we have a search warrant being executed, not allowing media to enter the building. Stay tuned, for this is a developing story. We will have updates as we have a search warrant being executed on Amos Miller's property right now as I speak.
Okay, so do you see why people left England for America back in the day? Because they were sick of this. They were tired of the state invading every aspect of their lives and taking away everything to allow them to be prosperous. Prosperity, individual prosperity, is a danger to the larger state. They absolutely are very, very fearful of the people. You got to know that, because they only do these things because they fear people. There are more of us than there are of them. So they do these type things. And this Peter here says, step 1, control the money. Step 2, control the media. Step 3, control the food supply. Step 4, control the capability for self-defense. Step 5, do what thou willst. Get ready for an escalation of step 4. Yes, exactly, which is, of course, taking away guns. Glad that we are focusing our state resources on this out-of-control raw milk trafficking ring. Finally, we're making progress. Yeah. I'm in the neighborhood. Now I need to go to see what's happening. This is ridiculous. Have to control the people and means of production across the nation somehow. Disgusting. This is ridiculous. Cain and Abel, I'd lament if I were the one coming to this house with arms. Sounds like they have too much time, people. and funding on their hands and are desperate to find anything to do. This is easily fixed. Keep cutting their budget and personnel until they are fully utilized on only actual important law enforcement issues. Well, I agree with that, but I do believe that also think about, like, there's a lot of money coming from these lobby groups from these giant um, nanny state food corporations, and I've mentioned the names already. So anyway, you get the gist of it. It's being monitored by activists concerned with government overreach. So I give major kudos to Christopher Hume from the Lancaster Patriot. So it's like a local news source. I highly recommend go there, and I highly recommend going to their Give, Send, Go. The Pennsylvania State Police did not respond to InfoWars request for comment as of writing. So I'm going to go up to the, let's go up to the, not the GoFundMe page, the Give, Send, Go. You want to support Give, Send, Go. Oh, I meant to say this earlier. You want to support Give, Send, Go because they were set up as a response to what GoFundMe did to the truckers, where they said, "Oh, we're just not going to give you your $1 million that people have donated," and they betrayed their whole mission, which is, oh, give to charity, and then they indicated, oh, but we'll decide if we'll keep your money, because they weren't going to refund people unless they actively went on there and refunded it. And eventually it got so much publicity, they said, okay, we'll do automatic refunds. Do not support GoFundMe. Do not support them. Give, Send, Go is a Christian organization. They were set up, they have no ties to technocrats or anything like that. And they are completely like, we'll give your money to whoever. We are not going to control this. Give, Send, Go is controlled by people from San Francisco, thus, hence, it's controlled by Silicon Valley, hence, it's controlled by government and NGOs and, well, Democrats. So anyway, Amos Miller under attack again. The goal is 150,000. They've raised 46,000. And let's see, update. This is from Miller's attorney, Amos Miller, the Amish guy who owns this farm. His attorney, Robert Barnes, released the following statement. Today, the Department of Agriculture of the state of Pennsylvania suddenly came without notice, raided Amos's farm, and detained everything Amos had in the farm's freezer. They did so in a lawless manner, without appropriate authority, in violation of their own rules and regulations, despite never objecting to the prior resolutions reached with the federal government, and despite a complete failure by the state to even reach out to Amos's known course. So he had already reached resolutions with the federal government, agreements in the past, but they ignored that, the state of Pennsylvania, and they said, well, despite that, we're going to come and take your crap away anyway. So despite a complete failure by the state to even reach out to Amos's known counsel, Robert Barnes, the state's own rules require advance notice. Now, this is how it goes, folks. Remember this. When the state comes after you, there's no rules. There's no rules requiring advance notice, noticeable reasonable timeframes for inspections, and showing of credentials. There's none of that. But if you try to go after the state and you try to sue them, they require all these rules. Suddenly you have to give them advance notice, reasonable timeframes to look over a case, and the showing of credentials. None of that occurred here. See, when you go up against the state, you have to do that. That you have to give them advance notice. When the state comes, they just come. And the USDA or the Department of Agriculture of your own state just shows up at your door. They don't give you any notice or anything like that. None of which occurred here. Instead, the state unlawfully obtained a search warrant based on materially false statements in an affidavit by a high-ranking state official in an agency with a known grievance against independent farmers like Amos. And after the raid and finding no evidence of wrongdoing, then illegally detained every item of food in one of Amos Miller's coolers, including buffalo meat not even subject to federal regulation. The detention order is patently illegal under Pennsylvania law. Despite the constant harassment, Amos will continue to do all he legally can to provide the food his members deeply need. Amos thanks you for your continued support at this critical time for food freedom in America. So yes, so I'm going to give to that for sure. I'll just give what I can, even if you have $5, folks. I know we're going through this everywhere, but the only thing we have in the end is each other. We don't have the state, we don't have the government, we don't have these entities, we don't have a giant food corporation, we don't have these people. They don't have our best interest. I implore you to start looking at each other as, hey, we need to be the support of each other because nobody's coming to save us except each other. We're going to do that. And we've got to start getting into that mindset. And it's not in a mindset to be alarmed about but just be vigilant and be aware and prepare accordingly. So, anyway, thanks for watching, folks. And I will talk to you later. Bye.